while I was waiting for a scholarship, actually one came to Eastern New Mexico, a small school. But I had to have a second operation. I couldn't go. And so during that time, I was going to have to stay another year in San Diego. And my JC coach, Charlie Popa, said, hey, look, you're not just going to hang around. Go over to this high school, they need an offensive line coach, start help them coach. So I did it, and I loved it. And so that's kind of when it, occurred. My influence is probably, my first would be my father, my dad. Not that he was a great coach. In fact, he was a horrible coach in some ways, right? But what he did was he gave back to people. So when a little league team's coach couldn't do it anymore, he jumped in to be the coach, right? So, just helping out, wanting to give back. I think that's what it was. Even though he wasn't a great athlete himself, he didn't care. The kids needed somebody. So he would go ahead and help out and coach. And he would help, get kids to practice and things like that, put a ton of hours in making sure the fields were right. And so I think that's probably been my biggest influence as far as, giving back. But like Charlie, getting me to coach, Mike Williams, the guy that hired me, was a phenomenal influence on me, so those were all, I've been around some good people in my life.
Excuse me, but so obviously coaching is a tough gig sometimes, but so who did you, while growing up, who did you look up to as a coach back in the day or studied to become that coach?
Well, I think again, I grew up kind of watching, I grew up in San Diego, so the Aztecs, right? Don Coryell throwing the ball. My first OC in college was Mike Martz, guy that kind of threw the ball. But I guess you always kind of I always watch USC, John McKay, and John Robinson, running the ball, student body right, student body left. So I think those were kind of influences. But again, I go back to my first year as a head coach. We were 5-4-1. We didn't know what our identity was going to be. I went back home to San Diego, and Charlie gave me a defensive playbook. So this is what you need to run. You got great athletes, play man-to-man, play the bear, which is, double eagle, and just pressure people. And that's kind of been my motto ever since. We've been a pressure team, man-to-man team, and then we run the ball and throw the ball big when we do throw it.
So before we get to your college career, what was it like coaching these high school players and the high school football team and then teaching them how to play the game of football and seeing them succeed and going to Division I colleges? What was that like?
It was awesome, right? Because, when you're in Oakland, people don't believe in the kids that I work with, right? They're like the throwaway kids, right? The kids that aren't supposed to be successful. I see that you do some stuff in criminal justice, correct?
Yep.
So, many of the kids in criminal justice, the highest percentage are people black and brown, right? And so to me, it was just believing in them. Mm-hmm. And they had this tremendous ability and tremendous intelligence. We just had to get it out of them, right? And channel it in a way and just guide them a little bit. So it was awesome to see so many people do so well, especially when they didn't expect them to do well. And I kind of thought that, well, if we don't expect that, do they live up to our expectations versus, hey, let's put these great expectations on them. So like last night, I visited with one of my ex-players, African-American kid who we got him into the Air Force Academy. Right? You know what I mean? That's not supposed to happen, right? Another kid, I had two go to Columbia. One went to Brown. Two went to Naval Academy. And so those are the types of things. I had two go to Stanford. And so, those are the things, the expectations that people don't believe are possible, but I say they are. There is no limitation. The only limitation is what we put on ourselves. So to me, it was awesome to see that happen.
So what advice did you give to the high school players that you coach? And obviously, they went to Division I colleges, and some of them won national championships too. So what advice did you give them when they moved on to the next phase of their career?
Well, when they left me, what I told them, when you go to college, it's a business, right? You're a commodity to them, right? So you need to hustle them before they hustle you. So get all the education you can, get all the tutoring you can get, right? Explore different avenues, meet alumni, right? People that can be influential to your life after you graduate. After you graduate, I'm saying that twice, right? Because the idea is to get the degree. And then if you get to play football in the NFL or Canadian League or wherever, you still have those connections from the alumni, that base that can help you move on. What do we tell, when we look at, folks, white folks, right? They talk about they have these ingrained advantages, but mainly it's based on the network and the things that are given to them, right? And so when you go to college, right, a lot of you go to college, you're getting knowledge, no doubt, but you're also networking with the next employer, right, or a fellow employee. So I tell our guys, when they go, don't just hang out with football players, meet other people on campus in your field, your majors, right? That can be influential to you when you seek that next job or the first job in some cases.
Hmm. So now getting to your college career, what was it like when Laney College gave you the opportunity to be the head coach of that team?
Well, when I got hired, I knew it was going to happen eventually, right? Because, I got hired to be the OC. My buddy was going to become from the DC to the head coach, and he was only going to be there for a few years as the head coach. And then I would take over. So it was kind of a natural progression. And Jay, who was the DC who became the head coach, was an awesome guy to work with. And so it was easy, right? I ran the offense, he ran the defense. I was the AD, he was the head coach. And so the transition was pretty smooth, for the most part. It was harder making the transition from being the defensive coordinator in high school to the head coach, right? Because I've never been a head coach before. But, being already had been a head coach and then taking on the job at Laney, I had the few years to kind of see how things were played, but it wasn't much different. Head coach of football is being a head coach. It's more the politics of being on a college campus and getting the resources that you need to support your players. That was what I needed to learn. And I was able to do that as the athletic director, learn that pretty well.
So obviously you have some young coaches on your staff, for example, like Adam. And what's it like seeing these young coaches grow to become that coach they want to be? What's it like having these young coaches by your side and teaching them to be great coaches like you?
It's awesome. Like I've got a number of guys that are, some of the top high school coaches in the Bay Area played for me, right? Or even coached for me. And so to see them do so well has been awesome, right? And for Adam to watch his growth, Rob is the primary one that, he's ready. This guy, I've trained him now to not only be a head football coach, but he's ready to be the athletic director too. He really understands the inner workings of what's going on at Laney. And so you do that, and it's really been, you love it. It just benefits the whole community when you have a simple transition.
So obviously, and the other thing that you have the former players that you coached, they went on to go to the NFL. So what was that like seeing them getting to their goals in the NFL, and then seeing your former players succeed in the NFL?
It's really cool, right? They go and they get there, and I think there's no doubt they're fired up about it, right? But what they realize that the NFL is a job, right? I mean, you got to get in the punch the clock at 6 a.m. You're there all day, and it's a job about performance, right? What have you done for me lately? It's truly there. So you don't perform, you're cut, and you can do all the things right, work your ass off, and still there's somebody better. And so people don't understand it's a cutthroat business. But I think one of the biggest highlights was when Marvell won the Super Bowl with the Steelers when they beat Seattle and Detroit. And my two daughters and I got to be there for the game. Not only we got to be at the game, but we were on the field as the confetti was coming down, to celebrate with Marvell. So that was, you can't, that's a priceless experience, and I thank him every day for that. Both my daughters were, just stunned to be there, and I was obviously as well. But, it's something, a culmination of a lot of years of hard work to get to that spot, right? For him, not me. I was glad that he wanted to share it with me.
Yeah. So before we get to the Netflix show, I want to talk about C.J. Anderson, obviously a great NFL running back, and obviously injuries was in part of his career, but when he was healthy, he can run the ball, one of the best. But what's it like connecting with him? And when was the first time that you connected with C.J.?
It was kind of interesting, right? Because CJ's head high school coach played for me and coached for me, right? So I've known CJ on and off since he's probably in the sophomore. And, I knew he was a phenomenal athlete, because he was playing quarterback in their offense. They ran the veer offense, so he was a quarterback. And then when I recruited him, many people thought that his best position was going to be DB.
All right.
But, one of the reasons he came to Laney is because I told him I'd let him run the ball. And, he was a leading rusher as a freshman on our team, but didn't have great numbers. And we weren't a great team. But the following year, we just, handed him the ball. And, he led the state in rushing. And then he went to Cal. But even at Cal, they didn't utilize him very much, right?
Yeah.
But then when he got into the NFL, I remember his rookie year, they came to play the Chargers. And I was down on the field before the game. I'm talking with him, and he wasn't active that game. He was upset, well, I should be active and this. And I said, stop whining. I don't want to hear you whine. Don't worry about what everybody else isn't doing or doing. What are you doing to be the guy? What are you doing to get in shape? What are you doing to understand the playbook? And he took it to heart. And the next year he took off.
Hmm.
And the following year he was, led them to the Super Bowl, right? And they won. So it was just, for me to see CJ accomplish so much, it was phenomenal. But the thing with him, he's a competitor, but sometimes he's his own worst enemy, right? In the sense of having doubts. And, people always want to worry about what everybody else is doing. Don't worry about anybody. Worry about you.
Right.
You do you. If you do you, you're going to be successful. And in CJ's case, it's exactly what happened. He got released by Denver, got picked up by Carolina. Everything's going to be great. And next thing you know, he gets released. Then he's with Detroit for a hot second, gets released. He was with the Raiders for a hot second, gets released. And then all of a sudden he gets picked up right before the Rams make the Super Bowl run. And now finally getting his opportunity to be him. And look at what he does. I mean, he goes 100-yard. I mean, he just was a beast. And I'll tell you what, that's a young man that always believes in himself, right? But again, you can't worry about anybody else, CJ. You believe in yourself, do you. And so when he does him, he's unstoppable.
So when was the last time you spoke to him, and is he trying to make a comeback in the NFL? Or
him and I talked right as the show was breaking on Last Chance U, and that's when he told me that he was going to retire, even before he made the announcement he was going to come back, and he's going to probably start coaching at one of the Power 5 schools, most likely, because he's a really smart football player.
Yeah.
I mean, when he played for us, I mean, he had to take on the quarterback role sometimes, even though he was playing tailback. And he used to tell him at meetings when he was a rookie with Peyton Manning, that Peyton used to tell him, okay, they want people to answer the question. He had to tell CJ, shut up, CJ. We know you know the answer. Let somebody else do it.
Yeah.
CJ is a very much a coach on the field, so I think he'll transition really well into as a coach.
So I want to get to the Netflix show that everybody should be watching. So when did this come about with Netflix and The Last Chance U, and how grateful are you that you guys got featured on this show?
Well, I don't know if we were grateful or not. I mean, I enjoyed it, no doubt, right? But so the selection happened after 2018. We had just won the state championship, selected as the number one team in the country. And I get an email asking me if I was interested in having a conversation. So I call the phone number. Of course, it's a bad phone number. So, someone's pranking me, right? They're just pulling my leg. And so I emailed back and go, they sent me a good number. So we just started the conversation. And a lot of people said, why would you want to be on Last Chance U? The way the last two shows, the guys, didn't look necessarily was very flattering and whatever. And I thought, you know what? I wanted people to see how we do it in California with no scholarships, no dorms, no food plans, right? No meal plans. I want to see how we, let people see where you can win with local kids. And it really wasn't Last Chance U. It was Best Chance U, First Chance U, right? For these young men. I wanted to show that. And I think that they wanted to see kind of like someone that had been coaching for a while, in my case, 40 years, and also kind of like, a pillar of the community, right? That I've been here in Oakland 40 years, right? And that, it was a great way to show it. And the city of Oakland. So they've been in rural areas. So now they came into an urban area, right? And in an urban area, let's face it, good, right, wrong, athletics and sports is an avenue, is a vehicle for young men of color to get out of the dismal surroundings that they're in, get out of the marginalized lives that they've been living because of social injustice.
So obviously this Netflix show is obviously, what's it like being called the legend in Oakland as a head coach? And obviously, and how many podcasts have you done ever since this Netflix show went out?
I didn't even know there was this many podcasts in the world, right? So like today I have 2. Right. I've been doing, there for a while I was doing 3 interviews a day, either podcast or newspaper or television stations. It's a lot of notoriety, a lot of media attention. But I think it's more about the struggle that young men are facing every day, and the idea that we have to provide a vehicle of change for them, and then they have to have the wherewithal, the support, the belief in them that they can make that change occur, right? And so I think it was uplifting for people to see that, right? But also to understand the struggle that these young men go through, having a wife and 2 kids, right?
Right.
Sleeping in a car, dealing with, sexual abuse in their family, right? Or their own abuses, right? Or, the gentrification, how it affects not only Oakland, but many cities across this country.
So obviously during this tough time, I don't know, like, have you been doing Zoom calls with your players, and has this,
Yeah.
so have they given you updates yet for the season if they're going to start?
So right now we're scheduled to play in the spring, right? Start in January, first game in February. We were just able to start last week. This will be our 4th workout today, in person, conditioning only. So we have a little over between 50 and 60 kids showing up to work out, just to run. We're just doing running, core, some push-ups and things, body weight things only. But it's just to kind of get them back to a normalcy, right? And the first day we saw them, we all had these giant smiles. You couldn't see them because we all wore masks, but you could see
Right.
their eyes light up. My eyes lit up, right? So that was good. And I think that's the little pieces that we want to do as we get ready. So we Zoomed all spring and summer. We got the playbook down, right? I mean, we got so much Zoom playbook.
Yeah.
Now it's more just helping them be, young men and helping them grow, right? So we're trying to have guest speakers come in, talk to them about their lives and their futures, right? Try to give them some meaningful things for them to grasp and to hold on to during this difficult time.
So all right, so when you try and bring in recruits, what would you tell these high school players who doesn't know about Laney College? What would you tell them about this college and this type of team you guys have?
Personally, we talk about, look, we know that you didn't want to come to Laney, right? That you wanted to go to Division I. We said, look, we understand that we're a stepping stone, right? We're a launching pad for you. Just use us, right? That's number one. We're going to give you unbelievable support off the field. We're going to make sure you have tutoring. We have embedded tutors in math. We're going to make sure that we develop you. That's where the term Laney Built comes from, right? That we're going to help you in all facets of your life, right? We're going to make you better in the weight room. We're going to make you better in the classroom. And we're going to help you in mature and deal with the issues that you have in life, right? So I surround him with a strength and conditioning coach, an athletic trainer, a social worker, plus coaches that have gone through the same grind that they have, right? So we're going to build them into this better person, hopefully, right? Or a more marketable person for Division I, right? And then we're going to play in the toughest division in the country, play against the best talent, and we're going to coach you up with the best coaches in the division. And so we're going to give you everything that you need to be successful and prepare you for your next step in life, both in college and in life, in the world.
So I don't know if it's, I don't know if you would consider this, but would you consider being, if an NFL team gives you an opportunity to be a coach, would you consider that, NFL?
Of course, you would have to, right? I mean, I don't think they would, but, like, it was funny. Sean Payton and I met 27 years ago, right? And he reached out to me after the show came out, and he said that, his son wants to be a coach and has been, working his way through the coaching, and he watched the show with his son. He goes, that's how you want to coach. That's what, makes a good coach. And it's not about X's and O's, right? It's about caring for the young people, helping them grow. And I thought that was really nice when he said that to me. Him and I reconnected and to talk about different things. But I don't know if the NFL cares about that as a coach, right? You're there to win games, right? I mean, it's a pretty cutthroat business, right? I feel that my job is to help young men grow, right? So winning's part of it, don't get me wrong. But right now, my philosophy is different than what an NFL coach is. Now, could I go to the NFL and just talk about winning all the time? 100%, no doubt. But would they take a chance? Probably not. But hey, I'm up for it. You got a team in New York that needs a coach. I'm there.
Yeah. So before we go any further, there's this 2 podcasts I'm gonna send you. You should check out. One of them is my friend Cynthia. She's a sports journalist. I interviewed her already on my show, and she said that she had a list of guests on her show, and she said that you were one of them on the list. So I'm gonna send her page to you so you can check her out. So
okay.
she wants to interview you on her thing, and also Global Kid Media. He's 14 years old. He's interviewed over 1,000 people, and he's trying to be the first sideline kid reporter. What do you think about that for 14-year-old?
That's awesome. I got interviewed I got a podcast, 2 young guys out of Colorado Springs, right? they asked to and I don't turn anybody down. So it's hard sometimes to get me to figure my schedule, but I try not to turn anybody down, because who am I not to give someone an opportunity because someone gave me an opportunity, right? And these two young guys were phenomenal, right? I thought these guys are good. They had great questions. They were prepared. And I don't, age, we shouldn't let age limit us, right? It's really, if people have this ambition and do the homework to be whoever they need to be, let them, right? Don't put these constraints on them. We as society put way too many constraints on folks, man. Let them do. Let them be there, man. Do you, right?
Yeah, so I'll send you Cynthia's page and his
Okay.
page also, then some of my other friends. He wants. I don't know how much time you have left here, but he wants to know if he wants to join. Can he join now? This 14-year-old kid, he wants to join in now and ask you a few things.
I wish I could, but I got a 10 o'clock podcast I'm doing with another person right now. So just
Okay.
give them my email address. Tell them to hit. It's bet because I'm not good on social media, so I don't always find stuff. So if anybody same Cynthia saying, well, just give them my email. That I have, plus I have my assistant at work. She kind of keeps track. Like, hey, don't forget, Beamer, you got to do this. Beamer, you got to do this. So she's kind of making sure that I stay humble.
Yeah. So the last thing here, then, before I let you go, what was your reaction when Deion Sanders got a head coaching job at Jackson State University?
I think it's awesome, right? He's going to help them. He's going to bring credibility right away. But what he does is he brings not only great football knowledge, but great presence of who he is. For HBCs right now, during the Black Lives Matter movement, right? What a way to resurgence of that, right? When I was growing up, remember Grambling at the time with Eddie Robinson had some phenomenal players, right? That ended up being great players in the NFL. And then as more the SEC became more segregated, and Alabama and them started recruiting more and more black players, right? The HBCs kind of lost that connection. But I think it's a phenomenal situation, right? And they get, at an HBC, and I've seen a number of players at HBC, they really get nurtured in the classroom and the environment, right? And so for Deion to do that, I think it's great to it brings notoriety to HBCs, which I think are a very, very viable place for young men to play athletic and women. And so I thought it was great that he did that.
Yeah, so I just want to say thank you, Coach John Beam, for joining this podcast, the NR edition. This has been an honor. You guys are such inspirations. Laney College, man. I'm going to be posting this on all social media formats so people see this. And this Netflix show, everybody should watch it. Really inspiring. And by the way, are you guys working on currently another season, or that's it?
Right now they said no, but you never, you always say never say never, right? So
Right.
Yeah, and tell your folks, man, hit me up on social media. I'm trying to figure out how to get all these followers, right? So I went from like 10 or 20 and I'm getting up there.
Wow.
So I want to people say you got to get a blue check. So I'm trying to get me a blue check.
Yeah, you deserve a blue check. You're the legend in Oakland, and by the way, and I feel bad because these Oakland fans, they don't have no Raiders anymore. It's in Vegas.
No.
So you guys have to. You guys are the only team in Oakland football team, but you guys keep up the great work. You guys stay safe, and hopefully you guys have a season.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate you. And like I tell you, stay safe, stay positive.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care, bro.